Hello and welcome to Maldorma TV. This is episode 23 and I'm Magnus Alberg.
And I'm Tobias Alberg. In this episode, we once again talk with the tabla player from Krishna's band, Arjun Bruggeman. After the previous episode, you guys felt there was so much more to talk about that you decided to do another episode.
Yeah, Arjun told me that he had a few stories that he wanted to share with me and they are really amazing. And I also had a few additional questions that didn't make it during the first interview. So enjoy this interview as well. Welcome, Arjun Bruggeman, back to Maldorma TV.
How you doing, man? Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. Had a really nice time the last time you were on the show.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, great time.
And I was very glad to hear that you had some more things to share with us. And I also have a few other questions that I actually kind of forgot to ask about last time because we talked about so many things that was really interesting. So yeah,
definitely.
For instance, I saw that you were in Bahamas at the Sivananda ashram over there.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I would like to talk about, and also I want to talk about the practice of bhakti more in depth, because that's pretty much what your practice is, I guess, with Krishna Das. We didn't really go that deep into the practice of Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
Okay.
And I think I want to start with a Bahamas trip. And if it's okay with you, I would like to share a short story to kind of... The story is about how I came to know about the Divine Life Society.
Sure, yeah.
And because it kind of interconnects with Krishna Das and Neem Karoli Baba and all that, so perhaps it's a good way to just go into it naturally. Yeah. So basically, when we met in Hawaii, just a few months before that, me and my brother Tobias had been in India. I think it was in April of 2017. And the main reason we went there, I think we talked about this last time, was to visit Nainital and the ashrams of Neem Karoli Baba.
Yeah. So
we went to Kanchidam and Kakrighat, Hanumangar, and places like that. And also we went to Padampuri, the ashram of Sombara Baba. Because I had just read, before I went to the trip, I read a book by KK, Maharaj's devotee. Devabhumi. So, and it was a really funny story because I had this I kind of channel information from time to time, and I knew that I was supposed to go to Nainital, but also Rishikesh and Dharamsala, and I had no idea why I should go to Rishikesh. Only that I had to go there, and I didn't really know what to visit when we came there, and the week before we went to India, we went to this retreat with an Indian yogi called 3M. I don't know if you know about him.
I know him.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen a picture of him and Krishna Das somewhere.
Yeah. I went to see him a couple of times in India. I received teachings from him a few years ago and was doing Kriya practice.
All right.
And we would go and see him in Oregon and hang out at one of his friend's house and have our own little time with him. It's really beautiful. Yeah, Shriyam's great.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
It's all of these connections. It's really crazy. So anyway, we went to Shriyam and to his retreat. And before, I think the book Devabhumi by KK came out just before we went to India. I mean, it was just released, and I read it as an ebook and heard about Sombara Baba. I never heard about him. I don't think he's that well known either in the West. And at this retreat, I met two Westerners that had been to Sombara Baba's ashram in Padampuri, which was kind of a weird synchronicity, meeting two people who had been there, this really unknown saint, the week before we were going there. But also, I still didn't know about Rishikesh, but I read Sri M's book, Apprentice of a Himalayan Master, and I knew that he had talked about a few places around Rishikesh, so I thought perhaps I check them out. And he talked about meeting Swami Chidananda from the Divine Life Society, the devotee to Swami Sivananda.
Yeah.
And I Googled his name, and this picture came up of Swami Chidananda, and I just fell in love with the guy. Mm-hmm. He was so beautiful, and I watched a small documentary, and so I thought, well, I think I'm going to the Divine Life Society, but I didn't know if that was the case. That was the reason I was going to Rishikesh. But then, after I decided to go there, the Divine Life Society just popped up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in Krishna Das' Instagram account, there was a picture of him, I think 2 pictures of him with the current president, Vimalananda, Swami Vimalananda. I don't know how to pronounce it actually.
Vimalananda, yeah.
Yeah, so, and also it just popped up from different sources, really unconnected. So I thought, okay, I think I'm really going to need to go to the Divine Life Society.
Yeah.
And we went there, and I had this strong feeling that I was supposed to meet with this Swami Vimalananda. And I told you this story when we talked during this week on Facebook Messenger, that when we went there, my brother and I, we actually got a little bit lost in the beginning and ended up in the residential area, and the first guy we met was Swami Vimalananda. So it was kind of funny. And also that two of the synchronicities came from Krishna's account, so it's this small connection to you guys as well. And I have no idea what it meant, but the Divine Life Society became quite of an important part of my, journey in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know you've been to the Sivananda ashram right now, so yeah, I like this kind of funny things happening all the time.
Yeah.
You can see these connections just happening, and you meet also knowing about Sri M. It's just another one. I don't know the meaning of them. It's just, I think it's funny when you see this strange synchronicities popping up all the time.
Yeah.
So,
that's great.
So what's your relationship to the Divine Life Society?
Well, we've been, Krishna Das has been going to Bahamas at Shivananda Ashram down there for, I guess, almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been going there since I've been with him, so it's been 12, 13 years or something. And, it's my favorite retreat to go to. It's not just because it's in the perfect location, on Paradise Island, we have the here and the ocean here, and they really kept it like a jungle kind of ashram, You can always sneak away to Atlantis if you want to get some kind of, but it's a very sweet place, and all the swamis there are from Israel.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a nice tight family, and it's run pretty intensely.
Yeah.
When we go there, it's a little different, but they do real practice there.
Yeah.
I think the Shivananda yoga lineage, from what I understand of it, is very complete.
Yeah.
Has everything in it. It's not just asana, it's not just bhakti, it's not just me. So the kirtan goes very deep, because they're very present, and they're very in it. So it's a beautiful time. And our connection in India and Rishikesh with Divine Life Society is very much with Swami Vimalananda. And it got a little weird. You hear me?
Yeah. There's a little stub over here.
Our connection is very much with Swami Vimalananda, and he's invited us to go and sing there when we're there every time. Krishna Das and him really love each other, and he's so sweet to us. It's amazing. I mean, it's Swami land. It's completely, renunciant, and then here we are. He invites us And every time, I'm wearing jeans and, the whole thing. And he brings us in his little kuti and, they cook for us. And we're at his birthday party one time. I mean, it's very, very sweet. And he's such an amazing being, actually, Vimalanand. And that connection has gone back in Maharaji's time.
Yeah, I know that some of the devotees of Sivananda went to Neem Karoli Baba and vice versa.
Yeah, Chitananda and Shivananda Maharaji, from what I understand, were close, and so that was always there, So and it's still there now, and it's really beautiful, I had a beautiful experience with Swami Vimalanand last time I was there. We were supposed to meet him there, actually for his birthday party, and I showed up early. I was on my own, just walking around, and I showed up early, and there was this tree, this beautiful big tree right outside of his room there, and he was just sitting there by himself.
Yeah.
And I went and sat next to him, and he said, "Oh, Arjun, come sit," and it was so crazy actually, because there was all of a sudden all this yelling and racket, and they're kicking out this woman out of the ashram, like literally kicking her out, and she was losing her mind, and he didn't budge. He just sat there. He didn't even look, and then it was gone. She was gone. All the yelling was over, and we just sat there in silence for like a minute, and then he just leans over to me and he said, "She stole things."
Okay.
And then that was it. And then he said something about a mantra. And he said, I'll think of you when I do this, which is really sweet, because if he says it, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And then, something that, we've read in books and we've heard and we've talked about all the time, but he said, you have to ask who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you alive?
Yeah.
The body is dead. What is giving the body life?
Yeah, like self-inquiry.
Yeah, you have to ask what that is. Who are you? But when he was saying it, he gave me that experience of really being behind everything. And, which, at times we've had before with different teachers or different experiences, but this was like his, it was really, really amazing. It was really beautiful. And, he was really saying it from that place. It wasn't just the thought.
Yeah.
So he's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, I met him twice when I was there. He was, as I said, the first meeting I had. And the funny thing also, when right after the meeting, we just talked for a few minutes, and he was really sweet and all that, but nothing, I didn't have an experience. But the moment after he walked away, I knew that this was the reason I was going to the one. And I felt like I can leave now. I don't have anything more to do here. But we stayed just to look out the ashram, and we actually went there every day. But I knew for some reason that it was done, whatever was supposed to happen. I don't know to this day what happened, but very strange.
Yeah, he's very humble too, very, very humble. You would never know, amazing guy.
Yeah, okay. And the ashram in Bahamas, is there like swamis from Rishikesh that over there as well, or they're all over the world, I think.
They're all over. Yeah. They're all over. I'm going to get the names wrong, so I'm not even going to try. I think the main Swami there is Swami Swarupananda.
Okay.
Probably destroying that pronunciation. And he's, they see him as their teacher, guru, maybe, and he doesn't say much, but he definitely holds a presence. And I've listened to him talk a couple of times, and he's really great.
Yeah,
it's really great. And there was another Swami that came once, and he was actually with Shivananda, and I forgot his name. And he was amazing.
All right.
He was so great. Yeah.
So do you go there for retreats or to have concerts or both?
We just do a retreat. We just go there and we have our retreat, 3 days, there's kirtan every night and workshops.
Yeah.
And we usually go there, giving the secret away, about a week before and just chill.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, okay. Which is
sounds
great.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be for a while.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So then, yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. But I also want to go into the practice of Bhakti Yoga, love and devotion. And I don't know if all the listeners know what Bhakti is. Would you like to explain it a little bit?
You might have to do that. It's Bhakti. I usually don't use that word, just because it's part of tradition that I do practice in a way, but it's also a word that almost doesn't have a definition in my own feeling of it. It's something that it's just love. It's a type of surrender. It's when you have a being that comes into your life, in a body or not in a body, or even a deity, that there's something that you feel that's so deep. There's so much love, and it's deeper than, I guess you can say, doing business or like a conditional love. It's the closest is unconditional love, I think, is that we can feel.
Yeah.
And it's just a surrender. It's you just want it. You'd give your life to this presence.
And the reason why you don't want to use the term Bhakti is that because you don't want to, kind of put yourself within a definition and more go where the heart show you the way, in a way.
I guess. I mean, that's just my way of it. I think that as Westerners, which I have done in the past, you can get very quickly caught up in just exchanging one identity for another.
Yeah.
Now I'm Bhakta. I'm a Bhakti Yoga, and I'm a Hanuman Bhakta. That's much better than a Krishna Bhakta. I mean, all this kind of stuff that happens in religion and in dogmas, and I try to stay clear of that the best I can. I in the past have got locked into that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy to have an experience of something, and you automatically think that, okay, this is the truth. This is what I need to do for the rest of my life. And not realizing that it perhaps was the right thing right then, but tomorrow it might be something else. And learn to listen to your heart instead. So, I know exactly what you talk about. I also been there, done that. In a way.
Yeah.
But
but the practice of that, of bhakti is usually either, of chanting, singing to your guru or to your deity, or repeating mantra internally or externally. Just your mind is always remembering them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it goes deep. It goes really deep because, there's this thing of the guru does everything.
Yeah.
Right. Maharaji, especially in our thing, and Maharaji does everything.
Yeah.
So if you really, really or truly surrendered to that idea that Maharaji does everything, you would never complain again in your whole life, because it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, good or bad.
Yeah.
And there's the surrender. If you truly have faith in that, you're done. Like Ramana Maharshi always says, no matter what happens, just be silent.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's extremely hard to do. I can't do it. But I, in the past have had some kind of understanding by the grace of Siddhi Ma and Maharaji in my life. But I think, so that's a big one. You hear that a lot. It's easy for other people to say, oh, well, it's Maharaji, don't worry about it. That's happened to you. I know it's not good or whatever, but it's all Maharaji. And then all of a sudden something happens to that person that they don't like. well, you can't do that to me. I thought, no, this isn't right. Oh, I thought Maharaji did everything right.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
it's like that kind of thing. So it's very slippery in a way, because you really can't nail down what bhakti is. You know, it's really like this letting go and not holding on to anything, even though it could be looked at as an external thing. You know, it's like, my experience with Cinema was, there was this being that loved me no matter what. I knew she saw everything, because she showed me stuff that I forgot about myself. And now I'm seeing it, and she's looking right at me, and she sees it too, but she still loves me. And that's a common thing with all anyone who's around the saint. So then what ends up happening is you kind of let that go, and you fall in love with that being completely. But that being is not a person. They're you, right?
Yeah.
So you're surrendering yourself in your ego, or whatever you want to call it, to this being that is you. So that feeling of devotion and love that is arising in you is you.
Yeah.
And also that person is every being in the whole universe.
Yeah.
So you're actually falling in love with every being alive.
Yeah.
So it's very tricky that way,
Yeah, and I think Ramdas talk about a lot about this. I know Krishna's talk about it from time to time as well, that trying to be loving and to be good is really hard. It's more like doing the practice and the love just start to manifest, and you are love. You don't need to do it as an act. It's just happening by itself, because you are love. And I have experienced glimpses of it from time to time, and it's very different to be loved and to kind of try to act lovingly, but it's not really the real deal.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But do you think it's still important to try to be loving anyway, even though it doesn't really, you're not there emotionally?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right? I mean, but as long as you're honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do people like, oh, that's so great. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I would love to do that for you and everything. And inside you're like, oh, why? So as long as you can, I guess, recognize that's happening in yourself, and you're not faking out yourself, thinking that, wow, look at how good I just did that, pat myself in the back and I was so loving.
Yeah.
As long as you know that was an act.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess even if you kind of fake it until you make it, you will start to notice gradually that you kind of like what love does, anyway. So after a while, I think it will be more genuine and wake up the real love.
Yeah. And I think people are pretty sensitive too. They kind of know when what's really happening there.
Yeah.
So, also just being honest. I mean, I'm part of a satsang. Sometimes it's very honest, sometimes too honest.
Yeah.
But everyone kind of knows where everyone's at.
Yeah.
But the love is definitely there.
But I think they are really connected, honesty and love, because when you kind of are really honest with yourself and with others, and that's kind of just giving up yourself and showing this is me naked in a way, and that's when you have the opportunity to open your heart in a way.
Exactly.
So honesty, I think that's really pinning it down.
Yeah, because I mean, who I think Ramdas said or something. There's that, what you do in front of the picture of your guru, and then not, so the guru is always there. I mean, it's part of your own being, so it's like you're not hiding anything, but you also kind of, not everyone can kind of take brutal honesty.
No.
So sometimes, idiot compassion, as they say in Buddhism, could be useful. In the line of that and real compassion sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I listen a lot to Krishna Das over the years, and also, allowing yourself to be in the ego and try to love that as well. I mean, it's so easy to beat yourself down for not living up to the so-called standards of a saint.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that, is, exactly, loving the existence that you are, accepting, and that goes back to the practice of just accepting this moment as it is.
Yeah.
This is exactly where, yeah.
Yeah. It includes all your bad personality qualities and all of that, because that's what's here right now.
Yeah. And anytime, where there is true openings with Siddhi Ma or Shamsundar Das Baba, or just, whatever Maharaji does it all. But that's what you're left with.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Because you see also you're connected to what you really are and what's really going on here.
Yeah.
And this personality and all of its problems is like a very, very small little thing.
Yeah, and it's like within the ego, in a way, the real self is hidden also. It's just kind of miss it, focusing on the me.
Yeah. So
but that's okay too.
Yeah, it is okay. It was a Robert Thurman, who's amazing. He said, when you finally become Buddha and you finally wake up and you look at all your past lives, you realize you're actually having a really good time.
Yeah.
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 But when you're in the suffering and you're in pain, it's really hard to see that.
Yeah. And it's easy to kind of paint this picture of becoming, this unearthly saint. But in a way, I haven't really met like people like Maharaji, but it feels like most of these saints are really good at being human as well.
Oh yeah.
Or perhaps best in they're really human in a way.
They're completely human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at least for us Westerners, it's easy to get a very idea of, what an enlightened being should be like, this Buddha levitating and whatever,
Yeah.
And it's really just being human completely.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're not thinking of being anything else than what they are. There's no thought of it. So, but I like that story where a Maharaji story. I don't know if it's exactly how it happened, but there's the short version. There's a woman that was in the temple that said, Maharaji, show me God. I want to see God. I'm ready.
Yeah.
He said, later, Ma, I'll show you later. And she said, no. I want to see it now. And she was so sure of herself. And then, no, later. So then at the end of the day, when she had to go home to her family and cook and do all this kind of stuff and, take care of everyone, he said, oh, Ma, I'll show you God now. And she said, oh, no, wait, I gotta go, not now. So that was showing her that, like, no, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Because you're attached to your life and your duties and everything. And that really was like, wow, if Maharaji did that to me right now, would I go?
Yeah.
I mean, with my idea that I was going to disappear and all my attachments, first of all. Who knows if that's really true, but no. I love being this whacked out person on this planet.
Yeah.
I am attached to it. I don't know if I would want to completely walk away from it. So that story in itself really gave me a gratefulness of what this is.
Yeah. And I also want to connect to, you brought it up a few minutes ago, suffering.
Yeah.
And the connection between suffering and love. And do you have any thoughts about suffering? what it is, why it's there, how it's connected to love. Do you have any?
Man, that is a question that I've had for a long time,
Yeah.
and I brought it to City Mom. Actually, that's a story that I wanted to tell, which is all about suffering and why. And if I can tell it, I'll try
ahead.
to do my best to make it fast. But it's pretty heavy. Some people don't like to hear about this kind of stuff. But Krishna and Archit Deve, who was our sound guy years ago, and I did an Auschwitz retreat with Bernie Glassman, the Zen teacher.
Okay.
And it's called Bearing Witness Retreat.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we did that, and it was really, really intense. It was really
Auschwitz.
Auschwitz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you stay in this little community center / kind of hotel thing that's like right in the middle of Birkenau in Auschwitz, and for 5 days you're doing all these different ceremonies, meditating at the selection site, going through all the different places where different things happen, hearing all the stories. You're in it. You're with the land. You're with that energy. And it's not just Zen Buddhists. I mean, there's people from all different traditions and all different, children of the survivors, children of the SS soldiers. I mean, it's intense.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to know what I was getting into, so I did a lot of research about what happened there, and heard a lot of more stories when I was there, and it was really, really, really intense.
Yeah.
So, in the one thing that we talked that you mentioned in the last interview is not knowing.
Yeah.
Just letting go of everything and that's the first thing that Bernie said, was to let go of everything you think you know about anything, any spiritual practice, any realization, anything. You just don't know. And then enter into this retreat, which was amazing, to do, just so you can really be there and witness what is happening without any kind, but, the emotion and mental torment basically that you go through when you're there is really intense. And, I had a couple amazing experiences. One was in the gas chamber that's still intact in Auschwitz camp, where I literally saw beings. I saw these gray entities, and I felt very connected to them. And it was almost like being in a temple.
Yeah.
When you're in, any kind of temple in India, there's a kind of an aliveness that hits you and you're, and this is a complete opposite kind of place. But I had almost the same awakening because there was so much suffering there. Yeah. There's so much pain. And it's just, the worst of what human beings can do, which also woke something up in me.
Yeah.
So I felt I had to go back there and do chalices and do my practice as an offering, which was really, really beautiful. But later on in the retreat, it was, just sitting there, going through different states of emotion and awareness, going back and forth, because it was beautiful out. The land was beautiful, and it was fall, and the leaves were changing and falling, and the sun was always out. And you just sit there just like, letting go of everything and just being present and enjoying it. And then the mind and emotions come back in and say, no. You have to be upset. This is what happened here. You have to be angry. You have to be sad, and going back into this thing and then letting go again, and then coming back in and then letting go. And then something kind of started happening where I recognized a certain awareness or silence that started to come in. So, going back further is just the space itself, which is allowing everything to be, which Eckhart Tolle says is the body of God itself, which I thought was beautiful. But that is allowing all this to be. It's holding everything. And it's also inside of us. So that, you're starting to go into that, into bear witness of what went on there. But then I was noticing the leaves on the trees. The leaves became such a huge part, and the leaves were falling. And I was really just watching that, and I was like, wow, if a leaf had a human mind, they'd be looking at this as an absolute tragedy. Everyone's dying, falling off this tree. There's a pile of corpses on the ground.
Yeah.
It's a horrific scene, but we don't see it as that. It's just nature, right? And the leaves are falling, and as kids we play in them and all this kind of stuff, But that is death happening. It is death, and so. And that's just kind of what happened. There was just this kind of space. I wasn't okay with what happened. It didn't correct anything. And I was kind of left with that. And then we went to see City Ma.
Okay.
And I still had this question. And I did a lot of other research about all the other horrible things that happened on the planet, not just there. And I was still like very just, man, why? Why does it have to be like this? So we're in a Rishikesh temple, and we were going to do chalices. And this is just a little side story. It's kind of funny. Someone said, "Don't you ever get sick on tour? Don't you ever not where you can't play?" I said, "No, Maharaji takes care of that." And I said, "Oh no, why did I say that?"
Yeah.
I was like, man, that was arrogant. Whatever. So we start to do chalices, and I get sick.
Yeah.
Really sick. Like, I thought I was going to throw up all over the tabla. It was really cold out. It's kind of outside, and my finger cracked open, and I was bleeding all over my tabla. I mean, it was horrible.
Yeah.
City Ma walks in, and she kind of, because she does her pranams, and she walked in, and she kind of stopped and looked at me and started laughing. And I was like, oh, man, So we finished all the chalices, and we did a little kirtan after, and I just felt something in my chest, just bang! And then sickness went away, and I was completely in this blissful state, and it was all cool. And then we had a darshan. I had a personal darshan with Ma, a one-on-one with Jaya. And I told her about what we did in Auschwitz. And I said, Ma, I don't understand. If God is inside everyone, even though it's covered by the ego that doesn't know what it's doing, still the deeper awareness is the presence of God. Why would God want to kill someone else? And why would God want to be killed? I don't understand suffering. I don't understand why this happens. And she just said, Arjun, you can't ask why. You cannot understand with the mind that you have. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that really didn't do anything to make me feel better. It was just like, okay, I mean, I understood that I can't understand, it's like it's like a kindergartner say, well,
Yeah.
how do you drive a semi-truck? So I went back to my hotel, and I was in my room, and I was going off on a feeling that sickness and being okay. And then I picked up By His Grace, which I've read 5 times before, which is such a beautiful book. And I just kind of opened up to a page, really just opened up to a page, not like, okay, I'm going to open up to a page and see, I just opened up to a page and started reading. And it was something that I know I've read before because I've read the book, but it never hit me. And there was a bunch of devotees sitting with Maharaji and Kenshi. And that day, a school bus filled with children went over the side of the road, and they all died.
Yeah, I remember that story. I read it too.
Yeah. And he said, why does this happen? Why would that happen to them? And the Maharaji said, no one knows why. The leaves fall off the trees, and no one knows why. Which completely brought me back to being in Auschwitz, staring at the leaves, and the leaves were such a big thing. And, that completely, when I read that, and which is something that I was, he did something there.
Yeah, like a full circle in,
You know?
yeah. I mean, you were watching the leaves.
Sorry, I lost.
Okay, the lagging. It sounds like a full circle. You sitting in Auschwitz looking at the leaves and going with Ma and then open the book and just talking about leaves and
Yeah. And to me that was Maharaji also showing that he's there.
Yeah.
And that was a Leela. That whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see it.
Months, and that's also how I think how he's in all of our lives, or any saint, is that they're always there through all this stuff. And then when you have an experience like that, also that's where devotion comes from.
Yeah.
That opens your heart. And I'm still not okay with the suffering, but it was that opened up, I think a little bit of what Bernie was talking about, bearing witness.
Yeah. And it's there anyway, even if you accept it or not. This is my personal view. For me, suffering, I don't know if this is a good explanation, but it's like the space in which love can exist in a way. Like they are interconnected with you can't have the one without the other in a way.
Yeah.
Like if love is the greatest love is the love that can kind of take in the most pain. I mean the unbearable in a way.
Yeah.
So without suffering, love wouldn't be as great as it is in a way. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if it makes any sense, but that's how I see it, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, anything that I've ever accepted, when I was suffering, that I actually fully accepted, it was completely a door into something awake.
Yeah, I remember Ramdas talking about, that even though he's in this ocean of love or whatever, loneliness, sadness, all of that grief is still inside of him. And I have had glimpses like that too, that when you go into this love and bliss or whatever, all that stuff is still there. It's not going anywhere, and it feels the same, but it's not suffering anymore. It's very strange to put words on it. It's there, and it's the same feelings, but you're not resisting them, I guess.
Yeah. It's once again, language of Eckhart Tolle, it's pain, not suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering is what we emotionally and mentally put on ourselves because we're experiencing pain.
Yeah, and in a way, I guess suffering is always resistance to what is, I think.
Yeah.
But as you said earlier, I don't really know.
No. But I think it's a very important thing to look at. And I feel sometimes, we can get caught in this thing where we don't want to look at suffering, and we just want to be love and light, and we don't want to be, why are you telling that story? Why are we looking at this? And, if we want to be these enlightened beings and be like our guru one day, grow up to that, they see it.
Yeah.
They see everything. Right now, how many people are being murdered, tortured, raped? I mean, it's happening all the time. And with Buddhism, I think, is the essence of always looking at that.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, they have this practice of always keeping aware of death in every moment, and I can see why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's deep stuff. For sure. So that was one of your stories. Did you have more stories that you wanted to share?
Let me get some about devotion and, I think maybe with in miracles, when we talk about, when these miracles happen, there are things that we can't explain that we call miracles.
Yeah.
I also devotion comes from that. It's something that the mind can't comprehend,
Yeah.
something beyond what we think is real that we just witnessed, and the mind completely collapses. And when that completely collapses, all that there's left is the heart.
Yeah.
That sees. And in that moment, you're there. And then, of course, it closes up again. And I asked Jaya about these experiences, because I had one once in Kenchi that was quite something. And
Who's Jaya, by the way? I'm not familiar with
Jaya was Sitima's like main caretaker.
Okay.
She understood. She was a translator.
Yeah.
So in most of our darshans, Jaya was there as the translator.
Okay.
And I feel, I had such a deep connection to Ma that sometimes there was, I was kind of talking to her. But and Jaya talked about those experiences, these miracles. What she said is, she said, Arjun, they're always happening.
Yeah.
They're always happening. And what you have to do is kind of protect it, like a tree that's growing, a little plant, and you protect it and you weed it out, all the stuff that can destroy it. And then it took me a while to kind of get that. I mean, my understanding of it is that it's these miracles, these experiences open up space, open up that complete depth of awareness, like the bottom of a lake that's completely still.
Yeah.
And it's not that literal, that what happened is always happening. No, it's the realization from that experience is always happening. And with practices that we do, chanting, repetition of the name, whatever you want to call it, watching the breath, is weeding out all that stuff. So no matter what disturbance is happening on top of the water, we're keeping our open to the bottom stillness.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what she said.
For me, like synchronicities and other things like this that are kind of, you can see the whole story that you talked about with the leaves and opening the book. It kind of reassures us that God is here.
Exactly.
In a way, that's the way I feel about it today. I'm not really that amazed anymore, but you just see God more and more, and you start to see small miracles as well. In a way.
Yeah, totally.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's more of, I think, the way Maharaj, he does the more cracking the mind than quieting it. There's a line in his Chalisa, I forgot how it goes, but I think it's when cracking the whip on the mind or something, it's kind of just...
Yeah. I have this funny little story from just a few days ago. My brother had this really profound dream with Maharaji, and he have had a lot of experiences with Maharaji in visions and things like that. And I really never had him in that way, and my ego kind of kicked in. And before I went to sleep, I prayed to Maharaji, please, can't you show up in a dream? And and as it happens, the whole night I had a long dream with Maharaji.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Nice.
it didn't really, the main message was remember God. But it's kind of funny that he actually showed up.
Yeah.
When I asked him to. But it was a completely ego thing for me when I just wanted I had to pray just because I wanted the same thing as my brother.
Yeah.
but still he...
Yeah.
It's really... kind of funny.
Yeah, well, that's good. Awesome.
I have a few... I have a few questions written down here that I think we've been talking about them actually to some extent, but we touched this subject earlier with, there are a lot of different paths, and in India we have, like Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga and all of this. And some people think that you should kind of stick with one practice, others mix them up. Do you have any thoughts or ideas about that?
I don't know, because if I reach the finish line, then I'd be able to look back and tell you.
Yeah.
But I haven't a clue, man.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place. But
Yeah.
I also, through my experience, it all leads to the same thing. Especially when you're the whole jnana yoga and bhakti yoga, and there's some bhaktis that are just, well, this is the only way, and blah 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 blah. And my experience is, any time that I actually really was feeling devotion and surrender, where do you arrive? At this complete, still, silent, non-conceptual place of, isn't that jnana yoga? Isn't that, it's, and, even, it's, I think it's just all the same. I think there's just, everyone has a different karmas and different things they need to experience in their life, which leads them to different tastes and different practices, which is good for them.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, for one person, perhaps they need to truly devote themselves to one practice only. For others, they all over the places. Personally, I do a lot of bhakti and jnana, and I follow my heart for periods. Perhaps for a few weeks, I really do devotional practices, and then I do self-inquiry for a few weeks. And I guess I think Krishna talks about it quite often. Just trust your heart, and whatever should you trust if not your heart?
Because you're
I think it's easy to, some gurus say something, or some teachers say something, and then you just buy into it because they know better than you. And that could be a trap, I guess, as well.
Once again, you're on a trip, and it's like Sokling Rinpoche says, most Westerners take refuge in a tradition, not a practice. So it's just about being something else, and which leads to we're right, you're wrong. Which is like, okay, and the use of that. But Siddhima was such a bhakt. She was so devotional in traditional and orthodox to the T. She was like the perfect, devotional being. And I was, also through when I was practicing Shriyam and his practice in his Kriya, and I was having this, this thing happening, and where my puja, my external puja, kind of started to fall away, because I set up a puja wherever I go and do all the offerings and everything, and that was kind of falling away. And I said, Ma, I feel like just closing my eyes and looking in is offering light, in the fire of creation to Maharaji and to you and to God, because it's here. And this is, so, bringing that in and offering that, I feel just closing my eyes is puja. And she looked at Jay and said, sounds right to me. Right? That's the way Jay said it. She said, sounds right to her. And I was like, really? Okay. So, and that's coming from like, the top. Which she's all about bhakti. So.
Okay. I do have another question that I had written down. Let's see if it's any good right now. I think we talked about this as well, in a way, that something that I've been thinking a lot about lately is, why you want to, I know Ram does talk a lot about this, doing good. And, doing good because you think there's something wrong, or doing good because, you are love. The difference between these two states, like I need to fix the world, and I fix the world not because it won't have to be fixed, just because that's
Yeah.
what I do in a way. So can you relate to that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, you can relate a lot of things to that, even music, you know. Are you playing music just to play, or are you playing to be really good,
Yeah.
you know? Of course, I mean, yeah, you know, there's a lot of problems with the world that you want to fix, of course, but I think it's a very fine line of why are you trying to fix it to make it what?
Yeah.
You know, something that you think should be okay. Everyone should be eat vegan, or everyone should be meat eaters, or everyone should be Krishna Bhaktas or Hanuman Bhaktas,
Or
or
even everyone should be happy.
exactly. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the one I usually fall for, you know.
Yeah.
Trying to fix people to be happy, you know. And I think it's a hard one to balance, you know, not trying to fix things that you think is something wrong with,
Yeah.
but still, you know, do good. And how to balance that, I think it's a really hard one.
Yeah, because it definitely has to be, you know, it has to be natural, just like anything else, you know. And you know, of course you want to be a good person and try to do the right thing, of course. And even sometimes when you don't want to do the right thing,
Yeah.
you know, and you do it anyway. Even if it's, you know, coming from a perspective like, well, I'm going to gain merit for doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's very selfish, but it's, you know, if that's going to get you to actually do something good, then that's a good thing. But yeah, it's, you know, you can definitely yeah, you can get caught up in it being a do-gooder. You know, I do everything good and everything like that, and you know, trying to build something,
Yeah.
you know, of being a good person when your whole intention, you know, is just for your own selfish,
Yeah.
you know, spiritual bodybuilding or something like that.
Yeah, and also it can be, I think, I remember an experience or insight I had once when I tried to help a person to become happy, and she said, you know, I don't really want to be happy right now.
Yeah.
And I realized that it wasn't about her at all. And it wasn't about my, you know, like trying to be the bodybuilder
Yeah.
good person either. It was about, in order for me to be happy, it was easier if she was happy too, you know?
Oh, of course.
That kind of trap that, okay, I need to change my outer circumstances if I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to slip into all of these kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we want it also to reflect off of us, you know, as if we did something. And once again, you know, going back to the topic of devotion and surrender and accepting what is, you know, I mean, that's what Maharaji wants. That's what is. That's the way it's supposed to be. And the only way we're ever going to do anything truly good and from a place of love is accepting it first.
Yeah.
We don't have to change anything. We just have to be here as fully as we can and, you know, surrender to it. And then some kind of love that's not attached to any personal, mental, or emotional gain can come in and maybe actually really help the person and make them really happy, truly happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just try to push around their life to, you know, just then your presence itself will just
But do
awaken
you
that.
think, so this is a question I don't really have any clue about the answer, but I guess two different ways to approach this problem, if you want to call it a problem, would be either to be very aware of what's happening inside of you. The other one would be just to try to go deep into being alive and let it take care of itself. Do you understand the difference I'm trying to For instance, that I can become very aware of that I'm doing this and that my ego is doing this, and therefore perhaps I can detach from it, or otherwise I could just sit there and sing and go into this deep love, and then this is no longer a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what the question is really.
Well, I think both. Yeah, I think what you're saying is both the same actually, because if you were to sit and say, okay, it's just inner observance, watching the mind, feeling the emotions, when stuff comes up, just watching it. Okay, basically seeing where your motivation is really coming from.
Yeah.
And then, once that's all kind of settled, then true love can kind of come out. But chanting, is the same practice.
Yeah.
Because when you chant, to fully chant, all these ideas about, well, I'm going to chant and I'm going to feel love, that's a concept. You're forcing yourself to feel love and feel good. You can sing any song and feel good. The practicing and being completely in the name, all these other things, it's the same practice of inner observance, letting go, going back to the moment, going back to the name, going back to, that's devotion.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, as you say, they go hand in hand, and they're pretty much the same thing, as you say. And also, when you kind of observe meditation, you need the love as well. I mean, and it arises, I guess, naturally.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm sure Ram Dass has said this, and Krishna Das has said this, and Siddhi Ma has said to me about meditation, about all that, and she said, you can't do meditation. Meditation is who you are. It's your natural state. By repeating the name, what's not real kind of just falls away. All that falls away, and what's left is meditation, which is love.
Yeah.
So, once again, any kind of trying to do something steps us outside of ourselves. Now I'm trying to be this, which is a good thing. I mean, it's part of the path, but it's also, but also at some point, it's just doing the practice, not trying to do anything.
Yeah.
Just fully being in it.
In a way, I guess it's impossible not to try in the beginning. I mean, you can try not to try, but it's still trying.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's really, really hard. And that's what, once again, back to acceptance.
Yeah.
You can't try to accept.
Yeah.
I mean, there's holding on to something, or there's letting go of something.
Yeah.
When you let go, you can't try to let go. You just let go.
Yeah.
And of course, then the mind will come in again and say, well, yeah, but now I know how to do that.
Yeah.
I got it. See, told you I was enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just impossible.
Yeah. I agree. Totally. Yeah, I think that was perhaps a good way to finish this interview, I guess.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It's impossible. Just
try.
accept it. Yeah, that felt good. Accept that it's impossible. Then I don't need to worry about anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you see that it is possible.
Yeah. It's this paradox that I always come back to that paradox,
Yeah.
To understand that there is nothing to understand.
Yeah.
Then you understand.
Yeah.
But you don't. And it just like this dog trying to bite its own tail in a way. It's just let it go. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it feels good to let it go.
It does. It does. Or I mean, repeating the name and just for no reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this second interview. It's been really delightful.
Thank you.
I could go on forever, I think, but
Yeah.
we're going above an hour now, so I think it's time to call it a night. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and
You too. Thank you for having me. Definitely.
yeah. So, have a good evening.
Yes, you too.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Ram ram.